Side Hearth and Home Shop, 54 Canterbury Road, Murphy.
All right. And yes, Carol Whitehouse, Tyler is in the house. She mentioned, is Tyler in the house? Yeah, I'm not used to being on this side of the show with Derek.
Good morning. How are you doing this
I'm
morning?
good. How are you doing?
Doing well.
This kind of feels weird, doesn't it?
I'm in charge here, punks. So, so don't get a big head. And
right.
Carol, if you look at my profile, I actually changed my profile picture. It's me in the studio. Replacing Tim.
Yep, replacing Tim.
No,
that's what I've been telling everybody.
Not replacing Tim. He keeps telling people. I keep getting people after me for that one.
I've been after Tim about giving me a job here, and I guess he employed you so I wouldn't go to work here.
I don't blame him.
Tyler, one day I'd go into the restroom. I came out and Derek was in my chair.
Yeah, I was
behind the control board. That was scary.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Push buttons, and he started screaming at me.
Just hitting random buttons.
Yeah, random buttons.
Flicking switches.
All right. Well, we have quite a bit to talk about today. Before we get too carried away, Tyler, if you'll bring up that Facebook post, and we'll go ahead and make that announcement again about the vehicle that is riding around allegedly taking packages off people's porches.
Right.
We'll let folks know about that and what to do. Are you ready, Tyler?
Yep, we got there's a gold Jeep Cherokee with plastic on the back window, occupied by one black male, two white females. Black male subject is wearing a red and yellow jacket and has braids, and these individuals are driving around taking packages from residences. If you see this vehicle, please do not approach the subjects. Instead, call 911. Possible tag on this vehicle is NCBJL5002. So be careful out there, folks. Don't try to approach them. Just call your friendly local police officers. Have them take care of that for you.
911.
Tis the time of year.
Tis the time of year,
Yeah.
and as technology advances, we have a lot of folks ordering from places like Amazon and
Right.
and online retailers, and they leave packages on the door. So,
Yeah.
what's the best way to protect your goods,
Well,
Sheriff?
there's some ways that, there's a lot of different ways you kind of protect the packages you get. I know a lot of people have them delivered to their place of business. If your business allows that or your employer allows that, most people have them shipped to where they work. That way they take possession of those packages and can deal with them as they see fit at that point. Another way of doing that is if you don't have an address or a place of business you can have it delivered to, if you have a neighbor that's nearby or somebody close that you can deliver your package to that you trust, that's there during the day or can watch your place as packages are being delivered.
Right.
That may take possession of those until you can get home of the day. So there's a few different little tricks there you can do.
And it's always nice to have security cameras.
It is. If you don't have any of those resources or anyone else available to take possession of your packages, some people are doing drop boxes. They'll do the mailbox drop box where you can open it up and drop the package in, and you can retrieve that later with the key. There's all kind of different ways of doing that. You can work things out with the post office about where to deliver in certain places or relatives or things of that nature as diversion addresses. So,
Or you can just have them all delivered to the sheriff's office.
you could do that.
I'd feel bad for
Yeah,
you.
I'm just kidding.
I've been believing in the power of security cameras. A family member of mine had some stuff stolen off his porch.
Right.
And he had the security cameras pick him up, and police got him.
Well, that's one of the things. If you don't have those resources, cameras is a great thing. At least you can get some evidence of who it is that's taking them. Like you said, vehicle descriptions, tag numbers, things of that nature. A lot of times we're here recently that we've had B&Es that have been solved just because of security cameras outside houses that can get pictures of people or pictures of vehicles and things of that nature.
And it's always great to get a tag number if
It
possible.
is. It's always great to get a tag number. Even if the tag number doesn't belong to that vehicle, it gives us a place to start of tracking that tag down and seeing what happened to it and connecting it to people. So be sure and get those security cameras up if you don't have any other resources.
And if you're like me, you like to save money. In security cameras, you pretty much get what you're paying for. If you're buying the cheap cameras,
Right.
then the quality, the resolution may not be good enough to, we've all seen those videos when a store's been burglarized. You see those black and white images where you can barely make out
Right.
the person that's burglarizing the place. And then we see the really high quality cameras that make it so much easier to identify the suspect.
Yeah.
So
That is true.
so make sure you get high resolution if you're going to spend that kind of money for protection.
Right. It's important, like I say, to protect those things and get the quality cameras that you need. But cameras are relatively cheap now. We have security cameras on our place at home and our relatives and things of that nature. And You can go to most of your places like Best Buys, different tech places and buy cameras. Walmart, I think, sells them, and you can get a set of 3 or 4 cameras and the whole system for like a few $100. Anywhere from $300 to $500, $600, and so for what you could potentially lose, it's important to do that investment to get that security system set up. And when you think about it, if somebody breaks in your house and takes your TV, you've lost $500 or $600 there in one swipe if you don't take anything else. So to me, it's worth the investment of go ahead and get the cameras.
All right.
Yeah.
Moving right along to our next topic. I know there's been a couple of deaths in Andrews reported this week. I know we can't talk about all the details because that is still under investigation, but one was a death of a female that was found there, and then one was a murder, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, one thing I want to tell you about the female that was found, her name was Teresa Harden. That is an investigation that was done by the Andrews Police Department. That is not through the Sheriff's Office. So any questions that revolves around that or needs to be answered with that would have to be answered by the Andrews Police Department. The murder that happened this week was also an Andrews Police Department case. However, they requested our assistance on that, and we stepped in and helped them do the investigation on that homicide. And we actually were charged the suspect with that. It's a 17-year-old that we charged along with that, and he is in jail at this time.
And the victim was in, I believe, the late 20s?
Late 20s, about 27. And this all related around a family incident. And like I said, I don't want to get into detail about the allegations of that, but it all stemmed around a family incident. But subsequently, the 17-year-old was charged with murder out of that.
All right. Yeah. And I understand a press release is going to be coming out about that. I believe that J.J. Wooten and Roger are working on that together for the press release, and we'll post that on our WKRK Facebook page and our website as soon as that becomes available.
And I will tell you, it's to my understanding, I know at least on the homicide this week, that the State Bureau of Investigations was involved in that. The District Attorney's Office was involved in part of the investigation, helping us with that. So I just want to thank all those other folks that came out. And right now, Andrews is trying to get back on their feet with their police department and get things up and running the way they need it to be. They're working feverishly on getting that done, but we all need assistance and need help from time to time. And so they requested us to come in and help them with that, and we did. But like I say, on the other one, on the person that was found, we weren't involved in that one, so that's going to have to be answered by Andrews Police Department.
All right. And I've sent a note to Chief Wooten and Andrews, so he has their email address for press releases, and hopefully we'll be hearing quite a bit from JJ on that. Seems to be doing a good job up in Andrews, and I know there's a lot going on, and probably need a lot more officers than the budget can afford.
Well, not only that, but you have training issues and time that just has to happen. Whenever you have law enforcement issues, a lot of times people want things fixed overnight. Right. And sometimes there's no substitute with just time and just having the time elapse and getting the experience and training necessary. And unfortunately, you can't send everybody you have to get training at the same time. You have to stagger that. So people have to work while others are getting training. And so it just takes a little bit of time to put all that together. We were talking at work the other day. One of the unfortunate things that's going on in our society now is that we have, almost every other profession there is out there, with maybe the exception of the medical field. There is an expectation to make mistakes. There's an expectation, that you can, things not be done correctly or whatever, and it's okay. You can work through it and get it going. But it seems like in law enforcement that there is an expectation of being perfect. There's an expectation of not being allowed to make a mistake and not being allowed to do something that may not look right, know. And so we're in law enforcement, we're under intense pressure and intense scrutiny on trying to make sure we do everything correctly and do everything the right way. But we are human beings, and we are human beings that are trying to do the best job we can do and do it the right way. But as human beings, you do make mistakes, and from time to time there are things that fall through the cracks or doesn't get done correctly. But for whatever reason, society has deemed law enforcement as we're not allowed to make a mistake. And if you make a mistake, then you're categorized or classified as trying to cover something up or trying to be, I don't know, just trying to not be adequate or be,
Right.
there. And it's very intense pressure. It's very intense pressure.
Absolutely. Well,
when
that's
you're under
exactly
that.
why you need to come into radio, because we don't make mistakes on the radio.
You do not.
Oh, never.
We have never made a
mistake.
mistake here at
Right.
WKRK, right, Tyler?
Oh, absolutely not. Wouldn't even consider it.
Yeah.
Just this morning.
But the thing
morning.
about it is, I guess my point of all that is I would hope that people would understand that just because you make a mistake does not mean that a person is corrupt or a person is a
Right.
criminal or whatever it may happen. That there is things in law enforcement that people do make mistakes, and we do the best job we can do. And as most people realize, especially if those road officers that are out there on the road, they're making split-second decisions.
Mm-hmm.
They're making decisions that it's life and death. And so when you make those split-second decisions, sometimes you can sit back for days at a time or weeks at a time and analyze things and say, you should have done this different or that different. But it's a little bit different when you're having to make that split-second decision as to what to do.
Absolutely. I'm trying to imagine myself in a situation where if I were a law enforcement officer and it looks like someone has a gun that may be trying to
Right.
shoot me, how would I respond so quickly?
Right.
But again, I wouldn't have that luxury of being able to just analyze the whole situation.
Well, it's even been proven, through different tests and different training standards that from 25 feet away, if you have a knife in your hand, you can rush me and stab me before I can get my gun in my holster, from 25 feet away. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people think from that distance you would have plenty of time to react. You'd have plenty of time to make a decision. But if you're 25 feet away and you just start running at me with a knife, I don't have time to get my gun out.
Your
to make a
holster's
decision.
not the easiest to operate. It's built so that someone can't just take your gun from you.
They have different kinds. They have different levels. They have different security level holsters. They're called like threat holsters, like a single thread or a double thread or triple. And sometimes you have to do certain ways of getting that gun out, different secret buttons, different ways of twisting or maneuvering the weapon to get it out. So depending on the type of holster you have to do different things. That's why that when we do firearms training, it's a requirement that you train with the holster that you carry every day, and that you don't train with a different holster than you carry.
That makes sense.
And because there are different holsters or different ways of getting the weapon out, and so we're trained on those on what we carry.
All right. Well, the holidays are coming up. I know last night the sheriff's office had the Christmas party and had a
We
good
did.
turnout
We
on
did.
that. And
Ran out of chicken, which was a terrible thing to happen.
well, that wasn't the biggest upset. The biggest upset was the fact that the peanut butter cups that Cindy made ran out way too quickly.
I think if she brought in a wheelbarrow load of Reese's peanut butter cups, then I think they would get gone. I don't know quite. I noticed that while people were standing in line to get food, I noticed there was already some people at the dessert table getting Reese cups. So I'm not going to name them by name today, but
Yes,
I know there was people over there doing that.
Yeah, I should have followed suit there.
You should have.
Yeah, so.
But I'll make sure you get some. The next batch she gets, I'll make sure you get some.
All right. I'm looking forward to that.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Well, we have the holidays coming up. I'm sure the sheriff's office will be having some special hours for the holidays, like Christmas
Right.
Day. You'll be closed Christmas Day and
Administratively.
yes. But the patrol, the deputies are still going to be on
Right.
on duty.
Our detention staff, our deputies, our dispatch, of course, all those work through the holidays. They work their regular shifts. And kind of what's unfortunate about that, if you think about the way scheduling is, and sometimes that scheduling falls different, but sometimes people are scheduled and their scheduling falls on working on Christmas Eve and Christmas, and again on New Year's Eve and New Year's, and so sometimes that really messes people up on their holidays. But we just want to thank all those people that do work through the holidays. In my career, I have missed many Thanksgivings, Easters, Christmases, when my kids were young and working the road and working at the sheriff's office. Or I can remember a lot of times of coming in and just eating Thanksgiving dinner, then going back to the road again. And we have people all over that do that, not just the sheriff's office, but the police departments, the highway patrol, the EMS, people
Folks at the hospital.
there's people everywhere that work through the holidays and for service-based industry. And we just want to thank all those people that do that sacrifice their time to do that.
No, Shannon, I'm not going to bring any to class.
Right.
Yeah, those.
She's looking for the Reese cups.
Yeah,
right?
she was. Yeah.
Well, I know that my wife was talking about here getting up close to Christmas is making trays to bring to the sheriff's office to put out. So we might could do that on a Thursday night when class is coming. So I'll see if I can arrange that.
I'll make sure to be there that night.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You could just bring some here.
Yeah. We could do that too.
You got to tell her how popular her candy is.
Right. Oh, she knows.
Oh, she knows.
Yeah. She had I had posted something on Facebook one night about she was making the candy, just taking a picture of it, and saying it's that time of year again. I started getting calls from everywhere, from the post offices to
I think
different businesses, and
I think that's the post where I was tagged in it.
I think you were.
Someone says,
Yeah.
"Don't tell Tim Radford about the candy."
Right.
I'm not sure why they would say that.
I don't know. I think it might have been the insinuation there, don't you?
I think so. Maybe. Apparently, people know I like candy and
Right.
chocolate.
Hey, poor old Tim.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But folks, it is the winter time, and we want to make sure that folks understand when the temperature gets down to like in their 20s, make sure that you have a working fire detector or smoke detector, because
Carbon monoxide detector.
Yeah.
Especially if you use heaters and stuff inside your home, kerosene heaters and those type of things.
we have so many. You don't hear about many house fires in the summer and spring and things like. Only in the
Right.
wintertime when people are activating their heating systems.
And you have
again.
Christmas trees in the home this
That's
time
true.
of year.
Christmas
And
trees.
A lot of times it's not just the heaters, but it can be Christmas tree fires, those type of things. The strands of lights are a lot safer now than they used to be with Christmas trees, but you still have those shorts and things that happen from time to time, especially using real trees that can knock your home very quickly. So be sure you keep those trees watered if you have real trees.
Yeah, if you have a dry tree, then that's very susceptible. And also make sure not to have long strands of extension cords that are the real thin, cheap kind,
Right.
because those can overheat too.
Right.
And one of the things I'm guilty of sometimes is plugging a power strip into another power strip to extend it. That's not good.
That's not
I have
OSHA standards.
I have one of those setups at my house, and I always make sure to turn the power strip off when I'm done with it, because you never want to leave that on.
Right.
If you have to use that kind of setup, at least be safe about it, semi-safe.
Right.
As well as I
There's
wanted
some
to
kind
say-
of precautionary measure.
Yeah, I got one of those big radiator heaters in my room, and those are real easy to leave on because they show no sign of being on.
Right.
So be sure to turn your heaters off when you're done with them. Those are a big deal as well. I've left mine on overnight a couple times.
Another issue that we have too, I was talking to the fire department, different fires they have, is especially if you have like kerosene heaters inside the home, not to try to refuel those things inside your home. Don't try to refuel them, especially with the heater still running. Make sure those flames are off, and take them outside to refuel them. I know from time to time in the history we've had people that has had fuel spills inside their home, and then ignition occur and create a problem there at the home. So if you have kerosene heaters and you're using kerosene heaters, take them outside to refill them and then bring them back inside.
If you're using wood heat, make sure that your chimney is clean. And there's a lot of chimney fires that just
There's
start
a lot of
because
chimney
of
fires,
what exactly goes on inside that chimney?
Well, what happens is the chimney builds up the creosote inside the chimney. That is very flammable. It's basically where the burnt material resurfaces when it cools down as it goes up the chimney, and it builds up over time. It's kind of like your arteries clogging. It just keeps more and more and more.
I can relate.
And and so what happens is a lot of times when you have a hot fire and it heats that flue up and it heats that chimney, then it reignites that inside the chimney. That's not what causes the house fire. What causes the house fire in most occasions is when it burns out the top, the burning embers falling back on the roof of the home. And falling, especially if you have a shingled home, falling back on the roof of their shingles and igniting their shingles is typically what causes the fire. If you had cracks in the flue or had cracks inside that it wasn't insulated very well, sometimes it can cause those fires around the flue and around the chimney itself. But more often than not, it's because of debris falling back on top of the home that causes the fire. I remember one year as a child, we had that happen at our home, and luckily it wasn't below freezing, and we were able to go outside and get the water hose and wet the roof down to keep the roof from igniting and catching on fire. And so just luckily we were at home the time it happened and knew what was going on. So be careful with that.
Yeah, speaking of it being winter, Sheriff, one of our viewers brought this up, and I'd like to bring it up as well. It's been getting dark real early.
Right.
It's been awful rainy this season. People don't know when to use their headlights. And I go up to Young Harris, and I've noticed it time and time again. It's just young people, and I know it's not just young people. They'll pull out without their headlights on, and it's 6 or 7 p.m., and it's dark outside.
Right.
So Shannon, one of our viewers, wanted to bring up when to use your headlights and how it is the law.
Well, anytime you use your windshield wipers on anything other than the intermittent setting, you're supposed to have your headlights on. I think it is still legal to not run your headlights if you're using windshield wipers on intermittent setting. But typically, if they're on a continual setting, you're supposed to have your headlights on at that point. Also, as it gets dark, there's a legal time of darkness that's scheduled every single day. You can get on almanacs and websites and different places and see when that legal darkness is. And any time over that legal darkness, you're supposed to have your headlights on. So one of the things we have to check in law enforcement, if we stop a car that don't have their headlights on, we have to verify what the legal darkness was for that particular day and that it was past that dark time. And so there's a legal time of darkness. And that changes. It changes 1 or 2 minutes every day.
I feel like it's pretty easy to know when, though.
Yeah.
You know,
when you can't see well, turn them on.
Yeah.
Right? Most new vehicles today have a setting that's daytime running lights, daytime headlights.
Yeah.
And what I do for my vehicle more often than not, and I encourage other people to do, is leave those daytime running light settings on all the time. And then that way, if it gets dark, you still have headlights on, you still have those settings. Automatic lights and things of that nature. So a lot of the newer vehicles have those features, those settings that your lights will turn on automatically. And so I suggest leaving those functions enabled in case you do forget.
I do have the automatic lights. And what happens usually by people when they think they're being bright lighted? What do? They flicker their lights at you?
Yeah.
I get that all the time. My car's a relatively new car and has the low beams are so bright.
My patrol car is the same way. I
You
get
get
flashed
bright-
all the time
okay.
on my patrol car. Yeah.
So-
and too, on my patrol car, it has the LED lights around the headlight.
Mine do too.
And so when you have the LED lights on and then you have your low beams on, people think you've got your bright lights on.
Yeah.
They think you've got 2 sets of lights on, but in reality, it's the low lights. So I get flashed all the time with people thinking I have my brights on. The other thing I want to say as far as
that's the next headline. Sheriff gets flashed
There
all
you
the
go.
time.
Gets flashed.
Get flashed.
All the
Yeah.
time.
Well, I don't need any more headlines. We won't go there. But the other thing I think this time of year too that people need to be aware of, we had 2 patrol cars in 2 days hit deer on the 4 lane that have damaged cars significantly by hitting deer. I don't know if you've noticed or not, especially if you go out 64 West and out that area, the new 64 road out that way. Almost every single day you go out through there through this fall and winter season, you see deer on the side of the road where somebody's hit them.
Right.
And I don't know, I've not talked to the state to see how many deer they've actually picked up on the road this year, but I know it is way more than we've had in years past. And it just seems like continually, almost on a daily basis, there's an accident where somebody's hit a deer. And so as you're out driving the highways and you're looking, especially in those areas where you know there's large deer population, pay attention to the sides of the roads and pay attention to those things that's going off the road. And if you see deer standing on the side of the road, pay attention to those because they could dart out in front of you or run out in front of you. So it's not just deer standing in the highway that gets hit. A lot of times it's people driving, deer's on the side of the road, and because of the headlights or something that startles them, they run out into the road in front of cars. So pay special attention to that. I almost hit a deer last night myself. And
It's so easy.
It happens to me.
is.
Yeah.
And I had to slam on the brakes and swerve to get around it to keep from hitting it. And luckily the deer took 1 step, and that 1 step was enough for me to get around it. And so you have to be very careful about that.
I hit a bear the other day.
You did.
Big old blackberry jumped right in front of me. Of course, I slammed my brakes on.
Right.
And by the time I hit him, I was going about 15 miles an hour because I was going, I think it was 45 or 50. And I got to 15 by the time I hit him. And he started going in the same direction as my car. So he was going about 10 or 15 miles an hour when I hit him and just bumped his butt.
Right.
And he freaked out and just ran in the other direction. I was like, well, that happened.
Did it do
Right.
any damage to your Prius?
No damage to. Don't call it a Prius. I drive a Honda Civic, and Tim calls it a Prius, and it drives me crazy. Well, no, it didn't leave any damage to the car. 'Cause It
Wow.
only barely bumped him, but it left a big old patch of fur.
Barely.
Barely. Yeah, it left a big old patch of fur as a souvenir. So I thought that was funny.
Right.
But I did have a question, Sheriff. When's it illegal to flash your bright lights? Is that illegal? Is that against the law?
Technically it is.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people do it as warnings, and it's not really enforced a lot, but it is. You're supposed to have your lights on dim when passing other vehicles. So technically, you're not supposed to be flashing your lights or turning your lights on bright.
And you're supposed to have 2 working headlights, correct?
You are.
Because I didn't know if you're supposed to encourage, because I get a lot of people who
Right.
they'll flash at me when there's deer ahead,
Right.
which I think is pretty good, but I didn't know if that's safe to do or not.
But the thing about it is, honestly, I would rather somebody flash me to warn me there's a deer ahead or there's an accident or something up ahead,
Or there's a cop parked on the side of the
right,
road.
as to worry about they turn their lights on bright for a half a second. Yeah. I mean, I think you got to weigh those things out, and you got to really look at what's trying to be accomplished there. So there's a lot of things by the law that law enforcement has discretion on to charge and to enforce, and those kind of things, and those are kind of those discretionary things that you can enforce. It's kind of like having a inspection violation or seatbelt or ball tire or something. All those are things that you can get tickets for, but it's officer discretion as to whether they want to write you a ticket or not for that.
Just Tim's giving me that mean grin in the studio because he started a conversation about Priuses.
Did he?
In the Facebook chat, and I hate Priuses. My sister drives one. I was about to say about the bright lights because she got her
Right.
lights replaced, and her low lights are the brightest thing I've ever seen. So
Right.
she used
They
to work
really
at the
are.
same place as me, and we'd drive home every night. And she'd
Yeah.
drive behind me, and those bright lights would get me every night, and it drove me crazy.
Short
Yeah,
drive.
it does. I was looking at the feed here. It looks like it's filling up with Prius comments and deer comments. So
Thanks for that, Tim. Thanks.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
All right. I see we're running a little over time. Anything else you wanted to mention before we close out the program?
No, I just want to tell everybody, to be safe out there. Just remember, we do have, this is the holiday season. There's a lot of things going on. It's time for Christmas parties. It's time for church events. It's time for plays and
Right.
cantatas, and people are on the road and a lot of traveling going on. Just when you're out there, just be safe. Be safe on your travels.
And please remember, if you're at a party or whatever, Christmas party, New Year's party, and if alcohol's involved, please make sure you have someone to get you home safely, not just for your own sake, but for other drivers.
I do want to say this because I say it every year, and I've done it before. I always try to tell our young people out there, and especially when I was a school resource officer and worked in the schools, I make a promise to our young population. Well, I make a promise to anybody, but especially to our young population, is if you're out drinking, you're doing things you shouldn't be doing, you get stranded, you're at a party, and you need a ride, call me. I'll come get you, day or night.
Very
I don't
good.
care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning. If you want to call me and tell me you need a ride, I will make sure that you get a ride, and I'll make sure that you get where you need to get. I would a whole lot rather get out of the bed and go be a taxi service for somebody and give them a ride as for them to get out on the road and have an accident. And I know especially a lot of times with young people, they worry because they're not supposed to be drinking, they're not supposed to be at this party or doing these things. And it's not for the purpose of getting someone in trouble. It's for the purpose of the last thing in the world we want is someone to get out, get in an accident, and get hurt or hurt somebody else. So my promise to you is if you are out there and you're a young person and you're doing things you shouldn't be doing, but you need some help, call and we'll get you the help that you need.
And as a pretty young person, there's no shame in that. I've always thought that. There's
Did
no
you say
shame.
it's a pretty young person?
As a pretty young person, I know you're talking about like high school age, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little past that, but there's.
I thought you meant your looks.
Yeah.
That's a pretty young
Oh, I am
person.
pretty beautiful, but yeah, there's
Yeah.
no shame in calling that. And
Right.
drunk driving is certainly not a skill, and it's nothing to be proud of.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
just keep that out of your head. That's
Have you
not-
graduated yet?
I'm about to graduate from Young Harris.
You
Yeah.
graduate from Young Harris? Yeah, I think somebody put on here that we should get Tyler a Prius for graduation.
That would be
present.
my wonderful mother. Mom, please just leave the live chat. I don't
Right.
want you here anymore.
Yeah, he is less than a month away from age 21 now.
Oh boy.
Hey, I went to school with your mother, so we'll talk.
I'm sorry.
Good old Robin.
Not sure
Right.
who I'm sorry for. You
Right.
or her.
All right, well, folks, I think that's going to be it. Be safe out there. And again, we'll be back next Friday here on WKRK for another show. And Tyler gets to push all the buttons. He gets
All
to
right.
stop the audio recording and the Facebook live feed.
All right,
and
hold
then,
on. I got a bunch of buttons pressed.
And then he gets to push the commercial button on the